break now. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kind. That's right, y'all. Get ready for another edition, part 2. I have someone who's going to share some light on what's going on with the abuse. Let me get everything straight. In the Nfb centers and things of that nature. My man Dave is going to be talking with me, and later on we have another person that's going to join me. She's going to help me out with the show as well. Very familiar voice. She's getting ready.
Hey, I'm Mike. That's my cousin.
We're going to talk about the experience of the abuse at Nfb Center. So y'all sit back, relax, comment, and all that good stuff, man. And I'll be talking with my man Dave. Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kind. That's right. Third Eye Visions, baby. Come on in here. Dave is going to share some light on what's going on too. This is part 2. Just trying to get a different perspective, other people's perspective. I want to thank First Amendment Ed and my man Demetrius and Lena for joining me on part 1 of this discussion.
Hey, I'm Mike. That's my cousin Nancy. Welcome to the Third Eye Vision. We're going to get it popping for you. Keep it moving.
Hello, everyone. This is Marcus, Anthony's co-worker,
Hello.
host of Third Eye Visions. I feel that Third Eye Visions is a great platform to expose the world to persons with disabilities, more especially the blind. I feel that Third Eye Visions is doing a wonderful job of providing resources and showing extraordinary talents and gifts and modes of independency that are previewed and shown for the world to see for blind people and for other persons with disabilities. Anthony, I think you're doing a great job with your platform. I pray that you continue on keeping God first and keeping Him involved in all of your endeavors. And I pray that you continue on doing a wonderful and great job of showing the world how blind people can be totally independent. Thank you for your service, sir. Great job.
Hey, I'm Mike. That's my cousin Nancy. Welcome to the Third Eye Vision. We're going to get it popping for you. Keep it moving.
All right, Dave, you can hear me?
StreamYard.
Okay, here. All right, can y'all hear me, Nicole?
I can hear you.
Okay, Dave, you here?
I'm here.
I hear you.
Let me hold on a second.
Main region. Turn off camera button.
To activate, press enter.
Can you hear my jokes?
Yeah, I can hear it, yeah.
Whoops. I'll have to change that in a minute. This is something.
One second, y'all.
Numlock on. StreamYard.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Invite found. Numlock off. Speech on demand.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, y'all. Get my music straight. Welcome everybody. Let me get this. Okay. Welcome to Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kind. Like I was mentioning earlier, we're going to be talking about part two, or we're going to do part two of what's been going on in these NFB centers. And I want to thank Lena for coming on part one, First Amendment Ed, as well as my man Demetrius to provide some insight. Today I have Dave, who's going to provide his insight as to what's going on, and a voice that you all heard for some time before she had to take a little hiatus. Nicole, she's going to be running interference and also chatting with my guests as well while I run interference as well. So with that being said, I want, first of all, welcome Nicole. How you been doing?
I'm great. How is everybody out there? I miss you guys. Mwah! How y'all doing?
Okay. Everything's okay, huh?
Yes, everything is great.
Okay. Is that music too loud?
A little bit, if you take it down just a little bit.
Okay. All right, Dave, what's going on, man?
How are you? It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Dave, since you are the guest of the hour, tell a little bit about yourself before we actually jump into the show.
Oh, cool. Well, let's see. What about me? I am 29. I live and work in Portland, Oregon. I work as I'm a young public transit professional, so I work in the bus service planning department for our local transit system. So I'm really, and I've been before that. I've done some transit advocacy for bus riders in the Bus Riders Union here in Portland, and I've been a member of the National Federation of the Blind for, gosh, about, is it really 13 years? Lucky 13. Since about 2007. Um, since I was, about 16. And I was born and raised in the South. I was born in the Mississippi Delta in Greenwood and moved to the Alabama School for the Blind. We lived in the town where it is in Talladega for a few years before I moved back to Starkville, Mississippi. Then I went to fourth grade, and then I grew up in Starkville. Then I went off to the Louisiana Center for the Blind. Got my, my 9 months in before going off to school, and had some soul searching moments through college. Was really kind of figuring out, realizing that I didn't want to be in a small rural liberal arts setting, in the middle of nowhere. Then I moved to Baltimore. I did some summer counseling positions with their youth program at BISM. I taught Braille the first year and Cane Travel the second year, and then that kind of led into being hired as the apartment manager for several years at that training center for the adult program. And finally, after working there for several years and going to school and also trying to become more involved in my passion of improving public transit, I decided that the job was holding me back in a way that it was there were a lot of ethical concerns that I had with some of the practices, and then also just was not conducive to a career of advancing on and to better things, to be honest. So I moved to Portland, I've been here for 5 years.
Okay. Oh, very extensive resume. And Nicole, tell the audience a little bit about who you are. I know, tell the audience.
So I am Nicole. Can everybody hear me?
A little louder.
Let me pull the mic down.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I'm Nicole, and I have a bachelor's degree in human resource management with a concentration in HR management. I have an associate's degree in general business and administration, and now I am certified to be an assistive technology instructor. So I live in North Carolina. I would love to leave, and like David, I want to be in a bigger area to do some more things and go more places with the degrees that I have. So that's me.
Okay, cool. Well, you both have heard about what has been going on with it in the NFB centers and allegations of abuse and things like that. And Nicole, that's why I have brought on David to talk about what he knows about it. Not pointing any fingers, just basically talk about what you've heard or things that are going on that you may have seen or whatever the situation. And I want wanted to bring awareness to it. So with that being said, before I do that, y'all make sure y'all subscribe, hit the notification bell, please. And all y'all potential subscribers, I know you're going to subscribe. You got to hit the notification bell so that you get information like this and like, comment, and most of all, share. So with that being said, Dave, talk about basically what you have been hearing and what brought you to posting some of this information on your pages.
Yeah, I think it's been really a long process in the making, to be perfectly honest with you. I guess I should really, go back to the beginning of my involvement with the Federation and try to really piece it all together because, I joined the NFB when I was 16. I was young, looking for, I was living in Mississippi. I was looking for bigger and better things like we all are, I think, at that age, and being blind, a total, blind from birth, I was, adjusted to that, and there was a lot of appeal to the NFB. I mean, they had good canes. I went to their summer programs, which I will say on the record, I experienced no sexual abuse of any kind at the Louisiana Center for the Blind summer programs in my tenure at the Buddy program, nor did I experience it at the Teen Empowerment Academy. I just want to make that clear for anyone who may be dissatisfied with this with the story. Anyway, so I joined. I was just really gung ho. I was listening. I was like binge watching Jernigan's speeches. I was just taking it all in, literally. Like, I mean, it's as you would say. Some people would say I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And I went to my first. I'd gone to a couple conventions when I was younger, and I was in awe of everything: the technology, the exhibit hall, the people, the crowds, all of that. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people are. I went to the Youth Slam. I was in, they put on a big show. I mean, with did a lot of touring. I toured their national facility. It was all very impressive, and they were very sure to make sure that we all knew that how impressive it is, and how all of the sort of facts and of its construction or founding. That's one thing you'll see a lot. The organization is very there's a lot of back patting, and look at us, we're doing a great job, and look at all the great things we do. There's a lot of it's a lot of self promotion, if you will, which is not a bad thing per se. I'm just pointing, but it is context. So anyway, yeah, I went to the Teen Empowerment Academy, which was like modeled after the LCB and Colorado Center and Blind Ink youth programs. It was set in Baltimore at the national headquarters of NFB, and it was a 2-month residential, program. And it was, it really helped my confidence. It really, I learned. I honestly, I wasn't that great at travel at the beginning, which is funny because I love it now. But it was. I really enjoyed it. I made some good friends through that, and some lasting connections. And then I did another year of high school, or another year and a half, and then I graduated early and decided I was going to go to the Louisiana Center for the Blind. And here's where things, if I look back on it in hindsight, things were starting to get interesting, because I was looking for training centers, right? So I was, trying to figure out where to go, and I was really looking between Blind Ink or the Louisiana Center for the Blind, LCB, which. So Blind Ink is in Minneapolis, heart of, not the heart of Minneapolis, but it's in the, it's in the
Twin Cities,
urban core.
Yeah.
And, whereas Blind Ink or Louisiana Center for the Blind is in a small town in Ruston, Louisiana. So very different communities. And initially I was, I visited both places. And I was actually leaning towards going to Blind Ink initially. Like that was I feel like honestly that was kind of my gut instinct initially. But then I was starting to tell people at the NFB, and they're like, oh, like there would be people who pull me aside, Joanne Wilson, Jason Ewell, I'm putting them out there, who would pull me aside and were like, you really don't want to, you don't want to go to Blind Ink. They don't have the same caliber as LCB. It's just not going to be the same. You're not going to learn as much. You're not going to be as well polished. It's not it's not the cream of the crop. And it's, the who's who of the NFB, training center alumni go to LCB is basically what the message was. I was like, what? I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting this. And I remember I was looking at, curriculum, and I was really trying to honestly, I felt kind of sorry for the folks at Blind Ink. I felt, but, at the end of the day, it was like, I don't know what then I think my mom was receiving, some of the same comments, JD, the shop instructor, she went to the Louisiana Convention in Shreveport in 2009, and said that I guess they were talking about it, and so maybe she decided said that I should go, or I think I just decided in the end to go to LCB. It was easier, it was closer, maybe, but I always wonder what would have happened if I'd gone to Blind Ink. And so anyway, now I'm at LCB, right? To get to LCB, I had to go through a lot of hoops. The state of Mississippi's Department of Rehab didn't want to pay for it. So the NFB did help. Well, I guess they helped me, to get there. Scott LaBar and Pam Allen kind of defended me in a administrative hearing which I had to appeal the denial of services, and I won that hearing, and then I went to LCB. So and I went from March of 2010 to December. So for those who don't know, what a training center looks like, or how the big three are kind of formatted. I at least tell you about LCB. It is there's an apartment complex like a typical southern small town apartment complex. I don't know how better to describe it. It's just, it is, and then all the apartments, it's all owned by the center. And then there are about 2 people per apartment. Think, I think it's mainly 2. Maybe there's a 3-person one here or there, but at least 2. So everyone has a roommate who's another student, different, either at the same time, at the same level, or, or farther along in their time there. And I don't know how, there's always been a little vagueness and, not a lot of transparency on how roommates were assigned, I think. One of the things I learned there was kind of felt was patronizing, but I had a good roommate. He's a cool guy, Davon. What's up? And yeah, so then you walk about half a mile to the center. And
hold on, Dave.
Yeah.
So I have some questions. Let's fast forward to the situation that's going on now with the NFB. Let's fast forward to that.
Sure. So, sorry, I should speed up. So, after I graduated, I was talking to someone who was very close to, who's still going to the center, and she was telling me that, this is while I was still at the center, a man, Francisco Souza, who's I believe now a member of the NFB of Virginia, took her to the Sundown Tavern, and then back to his apartment where he tried to, do things that we shouldn't discuss. I mean, rape. I don't know if he got that far, but it. And then he tried a few, weeks later. Actually, I think it was a few months. He tried to get the roommate alone as well. And,
so it was an alleged, right?
Right, but I mean, I know, I know I believe the person 100%.
Alleged right now, just for that, for interviewing purpose. Hold on a second.
Of course.
Can you back up a little? Can you back up a little bit from the mic? The guest had wanted me to ask you if you can back up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is that better?
A little bit more.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So.
Go ahead.
Anyway, they both went to Pam Allen, and Pam, I mean, I think she did speak with him, but he graduated with with a full ceremony and honors, or a full ceremony at the end of his training. He was not removed from the program at all, even after after this happened. And I was just like, what? Like, I really wanted to go further with it. And I was young at the time, and I was sort of, she didn't want to, the victim didn't want, she didn't want it to be talked about, and so I respected that. And so I did not, I regret that, not, pursuing it, but it never left me. And so that really started to sort of plant the seeds of doubt that I had about the whole organization, because, the NFB centers are extensions of the Greater National Federation of the Blind. So from then on, I think, I became really much more aware of some of the other flaws that I was seeing in the, been to a few, leadership seminars that were these, exclusive,
okay,
seminars.
Before you go to talk about more, Nico, you have any questions right quick? Give me
I have a lot for David. So,
okay.
David,
Sure.
Do you have any recent allegations of this happening, or is this all taking place in a, like a 5 to 10 year? Because what I'm seeing on Facebook, I just have to be honest, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this. I'm not here to victim shame, and I'm not here to say that it does not happen, because we all know that it does. but I feel like sometimes that we go about it in the wrong way. And we're not here to bash the NFB, and I want that to be understood. We would like to understand where the connection was broken, so that way it can be fixed, and then we can move on and get the victims the help that they need, as well as not damage any reputations. Right. So have you heard of any recent allegations within the last 2, maybe 3 years?
Well, you can look at all of the stories that I've posted on my Facebook page, which are all publicly viewable, and with the hashtag Marching Together. These stories, I did not know about these directly, which is, so the answer is no, I believe, but I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes.
My sister, my sister was at LCB a couple of years, like a year and a half after I went, and she told me some things, confidence about some folks. One of the students, may have been raped, and she herself was fondled by other students, and which is very unfortunate. And so there's that, and then also it's not just the victim, the sexual abuse. It's there are a lot of other issues with the organization that I have regarding racial justice. There's been there was a letter written in 2018 regarding an open letter to the Federation regarding the racism and misogyny present at the Timbuktu Law Symposium. I mean, I could go into that, but so I have not experienced any recent abuses per se, but the one that I'm talking about, which happened back in 2010, it's still a, that's my experience, and it still is, to see that, that's still going on with the same people. That's what just makes me upset, and that's why I'm posting these things and sharing it. I am, basically, amplifying the voices of other, survivors and people who have been harmed by this organization, and which is I'm a member of, and I feel, and that's the other thing, I feel like I've put a lot of time into it. I really believed in the philosophy, and to see that these things have happened is honestly a betrayal of my trust and in the organization and so forth. It's really unfortunate.
Now let me pose a few questions. Now this had come about, all these different things which have been happening had come across because the posts that you put on your Facebook, or it's come out because someone had made a complaint or what have you. That's
so
one question.
Okay, I'll answer that one. Stacy Cervenka has really been kind of trailblazing this. She's been collecting stories. I think she's got over 70 stories now. And that's just, people who are willing to speak out. There are a lot of people who are silent, but she's really been pushing this. And so, definitely, they've definitely been coming out in a rush. And so, I'm definitely not the only one who's posting and reposting the various stories and raising awareness.
Okay,
so I give her credit, and for really moving this forward. I'm just amplifying. My purpose in all of this, I feel, is to amplify voices and to really just be that somebody to call for change from within, and to put myself out there and take some of the heat that is going to come from the organization, because I'm sure they're not happy.
Okay, take a pause for calls every once in a while so that we, me and Nicole could ask you some questions as well as the guests. So go ahead, Nicole.
So again, we want to be careful on how we go forward with this, because one thing is that you don't want to do is you don't want to put claims out there on someone told me. We want to make sure that we stay within the boundaries of I have experienced or I have seen or allegedly, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation, honestly, that you cannot get out of. So I want to be clear with everyone on this platform. Allegedly helps. If you haven't directly been involved, then make sure that you use that word allegedly, because you do not want the fallback if these allegations are not true. So, and again, no disrespect to the victims that it has happened to, and they have spoken out and used their voices to speak out. But you just have to remember that sometimes people can get angry about certain things, and it may not be all of what it's cracked up to be. But again, no victim shaming. I'm not dismissing the claims, because I know it happens. It happens in every society. It has happened to me at times. So I'm not dismissing that fact, but we want to be clear on what we're saying and reputations, because in the end, if it's not true or it's because someone is angry, you don't want that fallback. I just want to be clear.
Well, let's okay. Let's get a few things straight here. If you read the stories, which are going to continue to come out, you will see patterns that are themes in the stories. You'll see bullying, silencing from staff, from people in authority at these training centers and gatherings, when allegations are brought forth. You'll see where people felt they've been silenced. I'm hearing what you're saying, but to push back against that, I would say that you cannot afford, when it comes to allegations of sexual abuse or and misconduct, you cannot afford to sweep. You cannot afford to sweep it under the rug. Just because you didn't see it, if someone just because you may have heard it secondhand, does not mean that it did not happen. And it does not mean that it should not be discussed, and it does not mean that people should not be called out to be held accountable to come forth and address the concerns. And when you have a pattern of sexual abuse and such, which is obvious to me, I'm convinced of that based on what I have heard, from people who I trusted even before this. Stacy Zarenka, she's always had a pretty strong compass, and is pretty respected in the community, and so the idea that we should be really having this focus on, oh well, if you got to get your facts absolutely straight, otherwise it'll come back on you, is just it's a very dangerous path to go down, and I'm not going to walk that path. I'm going to stay on the right path of finding out who exactly has either perpetrated the abuse, and who has known about it and been less than absolutely convicted to get those people out. So there's no middle ground here for me.
Okay.
You can
go ahead.
Yes, because I feel like I'm not, like I said, I am not victim shaming, and I'm not victim bashing, but here's where I feel like the conversation should be going. What are we going to do to fix the solution and give these girls the help and support that they need? And what policies and procedures are the NFB going to put in place to make sure that these things never happen again?
That's what I want to know. And I have some ideas on that, some practical ideas. I think that, so there is a board which oversees the three organizations. It's called the National Blindness Professional Certification Board oversees the Louisiana, Colorado Centers for the Blind and Blind Inc. They obviously need to be fully cooperative. And I believe that they could be doing, an audit of all of, they really need to audit all of their facilities, all of the centers. That audit needs to be led and managed by survivors and other blind folks in the mental health profession, to be able, and it should seek to determine where, number one, if there are any abusers on staff, and if there's anyone who's being abused right now at the facilities. Number two, if there are any policies and practices which could lead to either abuse or the kind of cover up of abuse. And number three, it should lay out some requirements for improvement that have to be met in a accelerated time frame. So that's that's one example of something that the organization could actually undertake.
Okay.
To address the problem.
All right, hold that thought. Those are some good observations and some suggestions. I'm trying to take some questions from the audience. Now let me backtrack, and in reference to the claims of abuse and things of that nature. Have you said you witnessed none of them firsthand, right? Because what the question that I'm about to ask.
No, I did not.
You knew of them, right? And I'm not putting you on the stand, because the question that I'm going to ask you from one of the people has it applies to this. So they told you things that that have been going on.
Yes, I was told of things that happened. So I heard it from the victim.
Okay, and they wanted to know why at that time you opted not to come out, or if you did, or whatever. Just explain briefly if you did or if you didn't, and we'll move on to the next question. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I acknowledge that I did not come out at the time, because I well, first and foremost, the victim did not want it to come out. She did not want her family to be aware of it, which would have happened if I'd come out. She comes from a very conservative family, who would blame her for it, and she did not want to deal with that. So that is really the main reason that I did not come out. I regret it. If I think today, being older and wiser, I think I would have made a different decision. But yeah, it's and that's and that's another reason why I'm now I want to make sure that that mistake doesn't happen to anybody else.
Okay, Nicole, you have a question for?
No, I want to take some questions from the audience. Okay. I think that's best.
All right. Okay. Now this guy, this guy from his name is Talented Jay. I guess he's making the assumption, or he claims, because I think he may have gone to the NFB, and if he did go, put it in the comments. Stated, and I'm trying to clean it up the best I could. You know how people go to plan to go to like maybe different art events and things of that nature for specific reasons, and getting together may be one of the ones. And he made the assumption or the claim that that NFB is all about, and I'll quote, F buddies. So he's basically saying,
Oh,
yeah, that part. So I don't know if you want to comment on that or not.
yeah, I don't want to. I want to respect your. I don't know what your requirements on language are. I
Yeah,
could,
yeah,
they're effing. Yeah, the comment is, essentially there's a couple comments actually that you hear. First one is what he's referring to is that, everybody, people at convention are effing like bunny rabbits.
okay.
I mean, I did not say, I heard this from other people who made, and I've started, I started hearing these sorts of things when I started attending convention from 2012 onward. I think I attended like 2012 through 2015. Um, and I was like, what? Like that just sounds, it definitely, it raised my eyebrows. And it definitely kind of stuck with me. I was like, what? If people are saying that, then there's got to be a reason. And so I think what it boils down to is, people get out of the, a lot of blind people are sheltered. And a lot of them, either they're sheltered because they're still living with their parents who are overprotective, or they are, perhaps they are just, they don't have a lot of resources, and so they're not able to get out much. But convention is like that one big thing that they're able to do. And so there's, a lot of people, get, I guess, you know, um,
I
their boundaries kind of or merge a little bit, if you will,
well,
and so there, and there's a lot of people. I mean, it's a very crowded. There's a lot of interaction, and then the other, saying that you hear a lot is what happens at convention stays at convention, and
what
you can.
let me kind of like, and I'm not trying to build a case, and maybe Nicole could support this statement or whatever, because it kind of supports what she was saying too. That's why, kind of be careful when you, and I'm not putting you on the stand, but when people say that, and then you come back and you hear about sexual you're right.
Allegations.
Do you think that, it could, because it goes both ways. I'm not blaming anybody, but the thing of it is, if that's the case, then, and let's say a person was participating in a sexual act at some point in time, then decide to say they don't want to, then they yell out that they were quote unquote raped. Then they take it to the administrators and all that other stuff, and just the whole thing just blows up. So it kind of like it puts a bad name out there when people say that it's all about effing and whatnot, but then people come up with the fact that they were raped. What's your opinion about that, Nicole? You have any before?
I do. So from what I'm gathering of the conventions and everything, because I do not get involved with this. My first time attending convention was last year when they did it online. I feel like this. If you're in a group of people or you are traveling by yourself and you're there to meet up with friends, and let's just be honest, we all are grown adults. NFA is there to provide a service. Now, what you do on your separate time, that's kind of up to you. So if you choose to, and I'm not trying to be rude. Again, if you choose to go and have a drink with someone, then you need to have a plan A, plan B. So plan A is, if this person seems to come off a little strange to me, plan B is for me to call an Uber.
Mm.
We have to take some responsibility here. And as a female, again, not bashing other females, because in no way would I bash other women who have been victims, because as I said before, I have been in that situation myself. However, you have to take a step back and look at, okay, if I knew this person was acting a little funny to begin with, Why didn't I have a plan A, plan B? My plan A is 1, always have money in your pockets. Ladies, we know this. 2, have a way to have a backup ride or take a friend with you. Things don't happen when you're in teams and groups because you're all looking out for each other. And some of the stories and that I've been hearing is it's because it's a one-on-one situation. So we can stop that by moving smarter, acting smarter.
Well,
And before you hold that thought, and because it's going to apply with what she just said, Guy, in one of the comments, Larry stated that some of the training that he received was also, it was within the instructor or within groups and also one-on-one. So yeah, go ahead. I just want to put that out there.
sure. I think, I hear what you're saying there, and, ideally everybody would, it would be, everybody would be able to sort of, sense the bad apples, if you will, and get, GTFO, if you will. But, things happen, I think the other thing to consider is that, perhaps, I'm not going to question and try to sort of question why the survivor didn't do A or X or Y to get out of being raped. I mean, the fact that she was raped at all and that she's saying that it to me that is paramount. Like I cannot really when we're talking about multiple victims, who have been, there's a pattern here. It's not just one or two, every so often, throughout the decades, it's, several a year. And so we really, I'm saying this as a member of the organization. Like, I cannot afford to sort of, cast doubt on their stories. And I'm not going to do it here.
No, and nobody is casting doubt. And I'm just wanting, again, I'm stating that firmly. Nobody is casting doubt on the victims. However, what we are saying is you want to be careful because we have seen other things in the past that have happened where a whole bunch of people made allegations and they simply was not true. It was,
okay,
jumping.
Sorry, I have to interject here. Yeah, I maybe you're not, and I understand you may, not be intending to do that, to cast out. But when you're saying things like, "Oh well, always have some money in your pocket, always have an Uber, or make sure that you have a plan to get out," I mean, that's all well and good. But there are people, out there who are listening or who may be listening who very well could have had a situation like that happen to them, and it was traumatic. And they are now, when they hear that, then they're, they could be kicking themselves, and that could really bring up a lot of, trauma that they have been experiencing. So I really do not want, I'm not going to, even entertain that possibility.
Yeah, nobody is casting doubt on the victims, but I'm saying we are all adults. There are certain things that you just do not do, and I understand the rumors and the certain aspects that are going on, but this is your organization, and if this is a problem for your organization, one, you all need to address the victims and talk with them. Then you need to sit down and say, hey, how can we keep this from happening? But for people to just start throwing stories, sometimes you have to sift through the bad to get to the real.
So who does? I mean, who's going to do this? The sifting. I think that's when you talk about that, we have to really be intentional about that because people. Yeah, a lot of people are angry right now. A lot of people have not even heard about this before now, and then there have been people who have had experiences and who didn't want to talk about it because the leadership in the organization they're reading this stuff. They're not commenting, but they're reading it, and so they're probably, when I spoke ill of the organization, and I tried to reach out and ask for some help with some potential discrimination. The president, of course, and I was not surprised. He spent most of an hour-long conversation with me talking about all the things I said and how they were wrong and how I shouldn't have said them, and only 5 minutes of that was actually spent talking about my issue. And it was a clear tactic of intimidation to send a message that any sort of dissent, public dissent would not be tolerated. So a lot of people or that's why a lot of people aren't speaking out, because they're, either victims or allies, because they're afraid of that retribution. For a lot of people, the NFB, is their family. I mean, it's not that, that's that's the sort of the
Your mic is popping.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. It just, what I'm saying is that people need, people's stories need to come out, and they need to be, people need to be heard. And I don't think it's just, I just am repelled by this, idea of, trying to, sort of, push responsibility on, to the victim, when systemically in our society, we don't even put enough responsibility on the men or the other abusers who are actually, doing these things. It's always
and that is what I'm saying. How is the NFB going to fix this so this will not happen again? Who are we talking to within the NFB to establish that line of communication where these victim stories can be heard and they can get the justice that they are looking for? How is the NFB doing that?
I do not. I want to know that as well, and so do many of us. And there hasn't been a lot of transparency on that, unfortunately.
Is it
so I really don't know. I don't know what.
Hold on there. Is it safe to say that the Facebook and the Twitters and the Instagrams are the first place that these allegations are being seen? Is there anyone?
I would say so. It's like a street protest. We're protesting. If we were in normal times, I mean, we'd probably be, if think of it like that. Think of it as, a street protest of online against, all of this systemic abuse and the people who have been covering it up. So it is kind of a social media born discussion, and but it is drawing a response from the NFB. I mean, they released that boilerplate presser last week, and then this week, Marco Cabono issued his apology letter, and it did lay out some, it did lay out some action, some items of, from some goals, but it to me it seemed a little bit vague. There are going to be some, reconciliation meetings. There's going to be an advisory committee that's supposed to be, I believe, but it's definitely just a start, and
definitely that's I wanted to comment on.
But
that.
It's not. I don't consider it a full response.
It's definitely. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Let me say this, because I have some guests I want to ask some questions, so kind of make your comments short. And support of what Nicole was saying, because it was only she only kind of responded, not to defend her or anything. I'm just being, just trying to put it out there. What was said in the comments about NFB conventions being an F, whatever he said, but it kind of it's mainly like a contradiction, because it's like giving an approval, because that's what it is, versus people coming out and really serious about making allegations, and that's a serious matter as far as being raped. So for for people to say that it's a the convention is there for people to have sex and this and that and the third. They kind of have to watch what they say, because when people actually come out and say that they were actually violated in a sexual manner, it's going to be hard for people to believe them, and to sift, and it's important to sift through a lot of this information, because it's like the Me Too movement. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to, not you, but people don't want to just start making claims and then and other people are jumping on the bandwagon and saying thus and such, when they may not, it may not happen to them in that particular way, and they just want to claim it. So we have to provide some way in terms of sifting out the bad apples, in terms of the claims that are made within the agencies, and deal with only the real ones and whatnot. And that's basically,
Yes.
what you was trying to say.
And letting the real victims share their story.
Right.
And the real victims get justice. That was simply all I'm saying. I'm not throwing blame, but sometimes we can get in on this whole social media justice thing, and it can really just blow things out of control. And I think that the victims have a right to seek justice against their abusers, no matter what the situation. But we want to be clear that when you do these things, that you're letting the victim tell their story, and letting them tell what happened to them versus he say, she say, because sometimes things can get a little bit bent out of shape or twisted, and that is not the way to seek justice. You need to give the victims a platform where they can come and share their story, because it is their story to tell.
I agree. There are, I believe other people are, putting those together. There is a group of people, I think Maid Abdiq and J.A. Lucas, who are part of a collective of blind, mental health, and social work professionals who are working on, making those spaces. I will share. I've shared those in the past. I can reshare those on to be recent on my page, so that people can see them. So there are people working on that. Who have both survivors and and allies. It's definitely, it sounds to me like it's kind of just being started, but I hope that it'll continue. And I definitely agree that there needs to be a platform. There was a meeting last night, I believe, of survivors and so forth who met. I did not, I wasn't there because I'm not, frankly, I'm not a survivor myself. I'm just an ally. But we've got to be really careful on how we gatekeep this. Like, it's not, we have to really make sure that there are no barriers for people to put out their stories, because, when trauma like this happens, not everyone always has the facts completely straight, so because it's a traumatic event, and it can affect people's memory and at the time. So we just we got to really. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
I really totally, and I don't want to cut, and I want to, please comment. Y'all don't comment and say he's cutting him off. No, I want him to be heard. I want everything to be heard in the proper way, and it's popping a little bit. And you're saying some very important stuff. I just wanted to say this. I forgot my train of thought. No, I mean the Facebooks and all that. That's a start, but definitely, I commend everyone for taking a stand. It's just unfortunate that it has taken so long and whatnot, and it's an unfortunate situation that people are not believing, and what is going on. So I commend people to at least start the movement there. But definitely, there's a lot of comments in here, but there's definitely a situation that, in reference to working alone with maybe an instructor versus in a group. I mean, if you see things, and I'm not blaming anyone, but just and I'm tired of making disclaimers, but if you feel blind and not blind, if you whatever, you feel that things are not right within your cerebral I mean, hey, you have the right to question if an instructor is doing more than they should, paying more attention to you and calling you and asking for personal situations. You know the situation, and I don't want people to think that, oh, because that person, because people do this because he's blind or she's blind or whatever, they have the ability, they don't know anything, or they've been sheltered or whatever. So here's my opportunity. They're new jailbait or whatever the case may be, and they have the tendency to prey on people who are not as strong and don't have that conviction in their voice and whatnot to say, leave me alone or whatever until something happens. And that's, I mean, that's what I know, and just dealing with life as a blind person. So as we sum this up, I'm gonna allow y'all to say whatever, give you a little excerpts and whatnot, and hopefully we can. And this is what I'm trying to do: bring some attention to all this. So with that being said, I'm gonna let you go first, Dave, and say what you have to say and whatnot. Because I thank you for coming on and sharing. I wish we could go longer, and the mics and everything will probably but you're gonna be back, so that's no problem. So go ahead.
Well, thank you again for having me on, and I really appreciate the opportunity to help raise awareness of this issue. I think it is, a lot of people are at different places in the discussion. People are, I think everyone can hopefully agree that the acts themselves, at least, are shocking and just horrible. And over time, the facts will come out as to what has been going on. And I think there's going to be a lot more discussion. It's going to be painful for some, and it may not always be very pretty as far as organized. It's There's a lot of raw emotions still out there. So I think it's really important to not try to be harshly judging. Go easy on the victims. Really, just please listen to them. Please believe them.
We lost them.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Nicole.
So again, as a female myself, like I said, I believe in looking at the female side of it and being supportive of our females out here, not disregarding the fact that there are victims out here. And when you are ready to tell your story, like those who have reported on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or Discord, when they are ready to tell their stories, they're going to speak their stories. But it's up to the NFB to take those allegations seriously and allow the victims to have a platform where they can speak their truth so they can get justice for their abusers. So that is my opinion. I will stand in that 10 toes down. I support all our victims. I support women, but we just have to be careful, be really careful of our movements and how much you want to damage reputations, because at the end of the day, these might be the same people that you may be coming to a job, for a job for, to get training from. And you just want to be careful with your movements. That's all I'm simply saying. Not shutting down the victims, not shutting down what they have to say, because what they have to say is very important. And what happened to them is very, very, and should not, and on any level should have happened. But let the victim tell their story. Don't be so quick to tell their story. They can tell their story. And let their voices be heard, because at the end of the day, they're the person who went through the traumatic incident, not you. But give them a platform to speak their truth.
That's basically what that's well said, and that's basically what the intentions were. Just a little after the guest talking, after the guest show, we're just talking. But yeah, that was very important. And I've gone to the center, and LCB Center in Ruston. I only stayed there for 2 weeks and what have you. But I mean, I didn't want to stay there because me personally, I guess, and I'm not knocking anyone who are making claims, and I commend you for doing it. Me being I guess I was like a person who's just strong and not take whatever that was given to me if I didn't agree upon it. So I left. So I wasn't feeling it. So I ended up leaving. And I understand that there are certain people who need to be there and want to be there and have to be there to get the training that they necessarily needed and whatnot. So I mean, if you feel that you have the skills to do to move around and the technical skills or whatever, you don't necessarily have to be there. You just go there for a little bit if you do decide and leave after a while, if that's the possible. I don't know if you have to stay there a certain period of time, but my premises was that I didn't feel right. Things weren't right with me, and I'm not going to bring that up. It was nothing sexual, nothing. It just I didn't like being told what to do and this, that, and third. So I left. So that's the situation, and it kind of like startled me to hear that it happened at the center that I was at, and it may happen in other centers as well. And lately, hopefully within time, people will start coming out. But I like what you said in terms of letting the information come to you firsthand as opposed to this, that, and third, or if Nicole tells me something because of the fact that I trust what she's saying. I mean, I don't trust not too many people because they can still be lying. To let them come out firsthand, that's the only way you'll be able to know stuff. Am I right or wrong, Nicole?
You're very right. You're absolutely right. And again, let that victim tell their story. You give them the ear and the platform to do so.
Well, we had a lot of comments. There's a lot of people that agree with what you were saying when you were talking about a lady by the name of Flo. I think she stated when you were talking about being prepared when you go out in numbers, and that was only because of the fact that the guy said that that the talented Jay stated that it's nothing but an F thing. But you stated, which was very important, to be prepared in terms of go out in groups, things that you basically should know, or your parents should teach you or tell you. And when she mentioned something about just being more aware and not bring attention to yourself. Not saying that this has happened, but it's hard to really focus on one side when the fact of it is it's true that there are two sides to every story, and we're not saying that this didn't happen. Whatever, if it did, yeah, they should be prosecuted to the highest. But that I say that to say that they agree with you and that aspect and whatnot. You want to comment?
Yes, and this is where I sit back and I kind of sip slow, because you have to have discernment. Like you said, there are two sides, and there's a third side. It's his, her, their, his, everywhere, and the truth. And we have to get to the bottom, the truth, before we can start making accusations or throwing, things out there that we just you just don't want to do. Make your movements, but be sure of the movements that you're making.
I agree. Well, Nicole, I want to thank you for coming on. Tell the people basically what you've been up to, man, and what's going on with you in your life and whatnot. Just briefly.
So, guys, I've been on a little sabbatical. I've had to take a break for a while, and I definitely miss doing a commentary. I went to get some more education in the blindness field. I went to go and do some more soul searching and reevaluating some things, because we're living in a time now that you have to protect your energy. And if you don't protect your energy or protect your space, then you're opening doors for things to come at you and just keep tearing you down. So I had to take that time and get some education and just take that time to reevaluate and kind of look at some things and sip slow.
Definitely.
And just get everything back in the notion. And I feel like 2020 has been an absolute horrible year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm so praying that 2021 is a whole better year for everybody. Yeah.
Glad to have you here, and she'll be dropping in and out whenever she could assist me, and what have you, and and give her commentary on various issues and whatnot. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, and definitely continue to support Third Eye Visions, again, where we always motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kind. Definitely, man, this is a subject to definitely stimulate your mind. So with that being said, you all, I'm about to get ready, check out my Tigers in a little bit, but thanks for coming on, Nicole. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So y'all, go enjoy the rest of y'all Saturday, and again, I'm out.